Hi, this is Charles Rees. If I were to tell you that the key role of any manager is to capitalize on their strengths and shore up their weaknesses, I'd probably see and hear a lot of indifference. However, I believe the skill that really marks successful managers is that ability to identify and discern which weaknesses are most important to address today. Organizations can stagnate, even fail, if managers put off dealing with what needs to be dealt with today. I don't think anyone's going to be an advocate for procrastination, but we sure do an awful lot of it. And the question is, why? It's totally a loss of productivity. At any rate, any inaction given time will overwhelm a manager. And a manager that does not see a structured solution to a challenge will continue to choose inaction. This series, Overcoming Inaction, Driving Your Success, it is hoped I will break some of that cycle. This series will highlight what your impediments are and also, more specifically, give you some ideas about how to move your career forward. Now, when I look at indecision, I find a cast of characters that keep reoccurring in the inaction domain. The first of which being Process Pete. Process Pete can't stand to see any change in the process. And while some companies truly have tightly wound, very complex process that needs to be given careful thought before you modify it, most companies simply are at the point where they've got things kind of working, people know what their job is. Why change? In either case, the focus is on not failing as opposed to finding improvement. Marvelous Marvin is another character. Marvin's the high-skill employee who people are sure that if he were to leave the company, the world would end as we know it. Great care is taken not to say anything to Marvin that might put him in a tizzy. And Marvin gets away with an awful lot of indiscretions and abuse. Sweet Sam is that supervisor that hates conflict, basically because Sam understands now that to manage conflict, you have to make decisions, and sometimes hard decisions. So Sam will let the employees fight out the fray. Whenever result comes. The rub with Sam, like Melvin, is that generally Sam has a lot of experience, and you don't want that to walk out the door, so no one says anything. Lastly, there's Blissful Bob. Bob is a manager-owner that refuses to write down goals and performance measurements. Bob feels it's obvious, and that if people were paying attention, they just know. But Bob usually does not observe real changes in the customer and their consequences. He's late making a discovery that there does need to be change, and when he makes that discovery, he generally attacks symptoms as opposed to the real issue. What's important is that these characters not be enabled and protected. With these characters, companies cannot evolve and adapt. Competitors, more agile competitors, can leapfrog. Market position is lost. In a work group with high-skilled workers, seeing 5 figures of lost productivity in a year is not that big of a stretch. So, what I'm proposing that over the coming weeks, I'm going to issue 4 posts addressing value creation, goal management, process, and communicating leadership. These are the 4 key elements I feel necessary to sustain any business. Each post will give some examples of behaviors that might indicate that you have a problem or in one of these areas or a weakness. A questionnaire will be given to help you assess those actions you might want to consider to move things forward. So I hope you'll join me in the coming posts. But on the other hand, you can get started now. Don't delay, start today. Take a 3x5 card and write down on it the number 1 weakness that you feel your organization needs to address today. Put it in a safe place. In the meantime, I'm Charles Rees, wishing you every success. Take care.